but for just being racist. That's some American shit. A lot of people don't got no reason to feel good about themselves but to just feel racist. Businesses trying to sell, like, hey, man, let's take it back. Pay attention to every single detail of this. The proof in the pudding.
They had a history of arguments and conflict. Now, officials
They got a
ordered them to stay
history
away
of
from each other.
arguments and
That
conflict.
proved to be really difficult because the shooter owned and worked at the salon downstairs. And meanwhile, the guy who was shot lived.
So look, these be one of these circumstances that might be out of your hands. You own your shop here. I don't know all the details, but say, for instance, that the dude that live up top that's racist, you can't, like, he lived there, he paying his rent, you can't avoid this. He won't come down here and fuck with you. From the way it sounded, was son was retreating into the parking lot and son grabbed him and they been getting into shit. Son didn't respect him. He might really not had a choice but to kill him, right? That's how a lot of people gonna think.
Upstairs. Police neighbors tell me it was an argument that included racist language that led to shots being fired here in Hatboro.
Saturday, any other day, around 5:30, I'm finishing up a client. I walked her outside and we're just chit-chatting, and we heard the first 5 shots. I grabbed her and brought her in, and then there was another 2 shots.
A deadly shooting Saturday evening left one man dead, one in jail, and sent neighbors running indoors.
I was like, well, those sound like gunshots.
Officials says the shooting happened around 5:45 p.m. in the parking lot outside of Razor Reese's salon on North York Road. According to court documents, the whole thing started with an argument. Salon owner Maurice Bird was outside smoking when neighbor, 37-year-old Steven Strasburg, who lived above the business, started yelling at him, calling Bird, who's black, racist slurs.
We good.
This happened multiple times until Strasburg started coming towards Bird and the owner called 911. According to the criminal complaint, Bird began to retreat further into the parking lot when Strasburg grabbed Bird's shirt. Bird retrieved his handgun from the front of his waistband, to which Strasburg responded, "What are you gonna do, shoot me?" As Steven pulled his arm back like he was going to punch Bird, Bird fired several shots and dropped his cell phone.
What you gonna do, shoot me?
The man was down in the parking lot. The other man, Maurice, was just standing over him. It was kind of like, I didn't know if Maurice was the shooter or if he was just there as a witness.
Investigators and paramedics rushed Strasburg to the hospital, where he died. Meanwhile, Bird, who stayed at the scene, is now facing a first-degree murder charge. Locals now forced to process a deadly ending to a neighborhood dispute.
I just wish people could be better,
I just wish people could be better, or... Was there no other way around that? In these times, if you got kids and you love your kids, was he so much bigger than them that he thought if he just fought him, the dude would kill him with his bare hands? Was it frustration? First degree does seem harsh, but usually the first charge they charge you with, the cop-out, is the lesser. So his cop-out might be second degree. You can get slammed. You can still get life in prison. Like, you can get 25 to life, but might give you a parole date. Yeah, there's history there. But the question is, if you love yourself and you love others, I mean, he could feel like, yo, there was no way around this. I had to kill him. I wonder what the 2 shots later was, though. And I'm not up here leaning in the direction of the white guy, I think the white guy should still be alive. Racist as a motherfucker. Whether, if that was the case, I think he should still be alive. I also think he should not even have hated son. I think they should have been cool. But is it worth potentially losing everything? Is it worth it? Sometimes the one thing about like growing up in New York and spending all my time in prison in New York is that I feel like it automatically made me not be racist. So where we get a white person that say the N-word and everybody on social media is up in arms, I'll be like, I want to know the white person first. It's two kind of niggas to me. It's the hard R and you really hate me and want to do something to me. And in that case, I don't feel like you should get violent with somebody. Be happy that you know how a person feels about you and you ain't fully locked in with them. Nigga, some of y'all watching right now, Twitter, Twitch, wherever, y'all done been in relationships where you done been locked in with a person and woke up and found out somebody hated you. At least you know from this person ahead of time. But I remember being locked up and dudes that was white dudes that was blood. Because New York don't have the biker gangs and the Aryan Brotherhood and the skinheads. We didn't have all that. We had the strongest things in our penitentiaries was Bloods and Muslims. You had white Bloods and you had white Muslims. The white Muslims got the same privileges as every other Muslim. The white Bloods got the same privileges as all other Bloods. When they talking and they rapping, they saying nigga. And ain't nobody really out there bugging. It's niggas that don't like it, but it ain't nothing there. He grew up in the neighborhood. Imagine if you was 2 years old, born in America, and then your dad got a job in Mexico. Your dad went somewhere to help run a company in Mexico. When you speak Spanish, when you be accustomed to the culture, the N-word, nigga, is so much a part of the culture. It's in all the music. We got it on movie. It's in everything. What white person could grow up in the hood, what we call a hood? Nigga don't mean what it used to mean. If we gonna sit up and say it's a term of endearment, then why can't your people of all color show you endearment? It's all about intent. So when these dumbass questions be on social media, what would you do if you in a car with your white friend or your coworker and they singing a song and they say the N-word? Are you fucking yo bro? Once again, we get the people having nothing to them. Because when you ain't got nothing to you, you just looking for a fucking flag to pick up. You looking for a gang to bang. You looking for any reason to feel different, have an opinion, feel special, all that other shit. I had a white friend when I was younger. I often want to find him. I don't know his last name, but his first name was Devin. So, y'all know it was some people that wanted to adopt me when I was younger. My aunt. So, I'm from New York, a bad neighborhood. My aunts, one of my aunts ended up working for the post office. One of my aunts ended up, she became an actual doctor, and they moved out the hood and they moved to Indianapolis. So when I was 8 years old and when I was 9 years old, I went from New York to Indianapolis for the summers. I loved Indianapolis because I got the chance to be a kid out there. Always had an affinity for that city. So when I was in New York, my mom's was a crackhead. I lived in a bad neighborhood and it just was a certain way. When I went to Indianapolis, I was like a kid. I did kid shit. I got to go to places that kid liked. I used to get pizzas with anchovies on it because I was a big Ninja Turtle fan. And my mom's was a crackhead. I wasn't going to get no pizza. And so when my aunts would be like, hey, you want some pizza? I'd be like, yeah, can I get anchovies on it? My older cousins, they used to hate that shit. But my aunts wanted to adopt me, right? And my best friend that lived around them was a white kid named Devin. And for 2 summers, me and Devin was like peas in a pod, man. Man, I'm more than on the verge of crying thinking about that shit, cause so I ended up getting locked up at 11 years old and going to juvenile detention at 18 years old. I ended up catching a homicide and going to prison. And it was nice that I thought about it like, fuck. Right? Like where I just was like, oh, like what if my aunts would have been able to adopt me and I'd have grew up. I wonder what happened with him. I wonder what happened to Devin. Devin could be out of control, wild, in and out of jail right now. I don't know. But the not knowing, but knowing what happened with me, man, sometimes that shit is raw, boy. Sometimes that shit is a raw fucking thought. And I wonder if he remember me like I remember him. Or if my life was so crazy, I just remember little moments like that. Little times like that. I wonder if I would be comfortable around him or he would be comfortable around me. Like the way we was when we was younger. I just go down in his crib, go downstairs in his crib and get some Pop-Tarts. Play with all his toys. I had cousins that didn't like me to let me play with the toys they had. Devin ain't never. Nigga, we had so much fun. We used to have like the little bow and arrow shit, shooting in his. Man. He loved, man. This dude, because the way I first heard the story was he killed him because he called him a nigga. And that right there was like too much for me because I'm like, if he got kids, he got a business. I didn't know he had a business. If he got kids, he got a business. He got family that love him. That pride in the way you feel because you killed the white dude that was saying the N-word, it's not going to cover up for you not being in your kid's life. If I'm lying and you on this stream, if I'm lying and you listening right now, tell me if I'm bugging or not. Hub, Savage, or that's somebody, one of the boo and I, tell me, does that sound crazy to you, right? Does it match up? Am I bugging? Oh, boo, you on the whites, whatever. Nigga, do we fucking know what life in prison means? I don't know what life in prison means. I didn't get sentenced to life. I was scared to death. I never was going to trial. They let me bluff them all they want. Well, I'll go to trial. Nigga, I ain't going nowhere. What y'all going? If they would have stayed at 20 years, I would have took the 20 years. If they would have never, I would have been like, hey man, what y'all giving me 20 years, 5 years post? Y'all wouldn't even know me now. I remember my mom saying that shit to me on the phone. Oh, take the 20 years. They could give you life. At least you get a shot at coming home. I'm talking heavy shit. Why, you crazy? You gonna come do half of it? You gonna do 10 of that 20? What you, don't tell me what time to take. But in my mind, I knew she was dead right. If they got evidence, and they said it was like 70 or 60 something, 69 or 74 people willing to come testify on me. So the police had found over 50 people that was willing to come testify, saying they seen me shoot somebody. They heard I shot somebody. I had robbed them at some point, or I told them I shot somebody. You think I'm gonna sit in the courtroom and watch that many people? I'm gonna look at the jury like, yeah, that nigga lying. Yeah, the 13th nigga was lying too. Well, how about the 32nd person that said you was a wild barbarian? They lying too. Nigga, wasn't you out on bail? The bottom line is, I didn't get charged with first degree murder. It was second. My cop out was manslaughter in the first degree. That's what I copped out to. I think I'll take me in manslaughter in the first degree. Go knock this time down. I'm young. And I did become a different person and learn my lesson. But I feel like this guy, he ain't need this trick. And them 2 shots afterwards.
Owner Maurice Bird was shooting Saturday evening, left one man dead.
And we heard the first 5 shots. I grabbed her and brought her in, and then there was another 2 shots.
I'm not on no bullshit. What I'm saying to y'all is that due to my experience with the criminal justice system, them last 2 shots might be his life. But in a moment, in that split second that it took for him to fire the extra 2, if it was him, unless we find out it was the other dude fired some shots and whatever, in that moment, the kill shots, because that's how the district attorney might describe it in there. And it might have been frustration and anger and just being furious. It's just it might have been but that Your kids, man, they never have a dad. Your wife never have a husband. Your parents have really lost their child. They got to come see you behind glass or some wild shit. How the fuck can we just fix this in general?